printed out a model of Robert Pattinson to fit the Batsuit.
Where is that model, and why do I not have it? we need to find this 3D model, Elizabeth.
Isn't that insane? Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Blogcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass.
And I'm Spencer Williams and Vengeance. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello. I am Vengeance.
What's going on? How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I got new season of All the Creatures Great and Small this week. New season of Outlander. More episodes of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and the freaking Batman movie. So I am great.
Oh, wow.
It's a big week for me.
That's awesome. I also had a big week this week.
Yes, you did. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. It's been very busy. Two things. One, I don't think I really talked about on the podcast, but I worked with Mandy Line on a commercial for the Bold Type.
Yes.
It's been about a year ago now, and it was nominated for a Costume Designers Guild Award. So this week I went to the Costume Awards. That was lots of fun.
Nice.
We did not win, but being in that room with everyone from the industry was really a blessing in itself. It was so fun. Met so many people. Hung out with real cool people. Louis Cicada, Maya's Rubio. I mean, I almost passed out. Jeriana San Juan, Laura Montgomery, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
It was insane.
That is such a great event. It really is.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And what else did you do this week, Spencer?
Also, I've been working with the FIDM Museum to finally open their next exhibition, The Art of Costume Design and Film. It opens Tuesday, March 15th, and we open from June 4th. I was a part of the exhibition committee. We have so many costumes and exhibit costumes from every Oscar-nominated film this year. Cruella, Dune. Elizabeth, you have to see the Dune costumes.
I know.
Eternals, The Suicide Squad, Black Widow. It's all there. So we went to the opening last night. Laura Montgomery and Whitney Adams went with me, and it was just so much fun.
Amazing.
I've been in full costume design nerd drive all week. And then this morning, because I was out partying all week, I had to run to the theaters and see the Batman. So I just got home from the movie about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I'm real hyped up on 2 large Cokes right now because that shit is so expensive, and you know damn well I'm going to fill that cup up multiple times.
I learned my lesson. Oh my gosh, when I went to go see it. Oh, in case everybody's wondering, yes, we watched Batman this week. That's what today's episode is about. I told you, I went on a Thursday afternoon by myself, and I was the only person at the concession stand, and I was like, because I hate how big the sodas are. I really do.
Who needs a soda that big? I don't understand it.
Nobody. So I was like, am I allowed to order a kid's soda? She was like, yeah, sure. I was like, give me that kid's soda.
Oh, can you do that? I didn't even think about that.
Apparently.
I always get the regular, and it's like a milk gallon, It's so big. I'm like, who needs this? But I paid for it, so I usually refill the cup anyways. So if I seem a little messed up today, I'm still drinking.
Oh my, he literally has it right now on the podcast. Just drinking his soda. You're like my parents. They always refill the popcorn. Always.
Oh, I can't refill the popcorn. I'll get sick.
No, right before we leave the theater, and then my dad eats it for the rest of the week. I don't understand.
I mean, it saves on groceries, I guess. And the thing about the soda is I already feel super hyper, and I know I definitely need water, but I just keep drinking it.
You also, who else just keeps on doing something they know isn't good for them?
Batman.
Oh my gosh, everybody. This was a movie. Spencer, I feel like you should just jump into the summary so we can really talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So for The Batman 2022, as Batman tracks down a Riddler who is terrorizing Gotham City and killing off its prominent leaders, Bruce Wayne finds himself in a tailspin as his parents' reputations and legacy begin to unravel. And that is a Batman. Another good summary would be the Batman beats people up for 3 hours, and that's about it.
Literally. If you have not seen The Batman, stop. Go to the theaters.
Right now.
It is 3 hours of your life well spent. Well spent.
Yes.
Just don't listen to this podcast yet. Go watch the movie.
Go. Get in on your motorcycle or your super hyped up Batmobile and rush over to the theaters.
Get to the theaters. While you do that, we're going to go behind the wardrobe. This stunning noir wardrobe was brought to us by director Matt Reeves, costume designer Jacqueline Durran again.
Oh, she's back. Quite the year.
Quite the year. You will know her from Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, Nanny McPhee Returns, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Anna Karenina, Mr. Turner, Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour 1917, Little Women, Cyrano, and Spencer.
Yes. I love that she literally went from like Spencer to Cyrano to the Batman. Like 3 Bermuda Triangle of polar opposite films.
I know. And it's like, I know she was not the lead costume designer on Cyrano, but she did one of the characters' costumes. And that is like, it looks like that character is in a lot of scenes. So I'm like,
yeah, how
did you get all of this done?
She's the main actress of Cyrano. It's what a year.
What a year. But also, for Batman, we didn't just have a costume designer. They had 2 suit designers, David Crossman and Glenn Dillon, who you will know their work from Rogue One and Solo.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, they had designers just for the suits.
No, that's cool. That's how you know you're about to do a good film.
Exactly. 3 people had to work together to bring this wardrobe to life, and I cannot wait to get into it after our break.
Elizabeth, the bat signal's in the sky. You know what that means?
It means someone's out for vengeance.
Let's talk about the Batman.
Oh my gosh, this movie. This movie was insane. I wasn't expecting it to be this good.
I don't know. I've never seen a Batman movie that's ever disappointed me. Just like, this is DC's specialty is Batman movies, honestly. They just kill it every single time. Going all the way back to like the Tim Burton movies and the Michael Keaton movies and George Clooney, Christian Bale, like every single time it's good. And Robert Pattinson, I mean, he laid it down. Yeah.
That was the face of a killer Bella. It was.
Or seriously harm, not kill.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like he's taken some people out, though.
Yeah, I definitely felt like
there were a lot of explosions. People were at least critically injured.
Yeah, seriously, though. Toward the end of the film, I was like, ooh, I don't think that guy's going to get up from that one.
Yeah, some of the beatings, I was like, ooh, Batman.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That felt like a spinal injury Batman, but okay.
Right. This week, because it literally just came out, we're just kind of going to go character by character, starting with the Bat himself, Mr. Robert Pattinson, as Batman. Perfection.
He did so good. So good.
So good. And one of the things I found really interesting about his casting is that he had to do a screen test to get the part. And Matt Reeves talked to EW about it. He said part of the tradition is that when you're playing Batman at Warner Brothers, you don't just do an audition. You do a screen test, and they need to see you in a Batsuit.
Wow.
But they don't make you a Batsuit because that's a very involved process. So what you do is you put on an old Batsuit. They put Robert Pattinson in Val Kilmer's Batsuit for his screen test because it was the closest one that would fit him. And I heard him talk about it in an interview, and he was like, they were like pulling it on me because it was still too small for him. They were pulling it on him. He was like, it was hot. I was sweating. It was terrible. But he apparently did a great screen test because he got the role.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. I don't know. Just here's Val Kilmer's Batsuit. Enjoy. Like what?
Yeah, exactly. And in that same interview with Entertainment Weekly, Reeve said you could see Rob transform immediately. The first thing that you do is you put it on, and then he came out and looked at himself in a mirror and just turned to me and said, "It's quite transformative."
Wow.
It's like, it better be. It's a freaking Batsuit.
Right. It's brilliant. So let's talk about Robert in his Batsuit. I mean, I loved it. It was so cool. It felt so modern.
It really did. And David Crossman, one of the suit designers, talked to CNN. This is the most based in reality the Batsuit can be. We removed a lot of the fantasy elements. So they were really trying to create like something that someone could really put together themselves. Like, yes, Bruce Wayne has all the money in the world, but like he's still doing all of this himself with Alfred a little bit. It's like, it's not like he can just order custom armor. Him and Glenn Dillon really talked about how they kind of wanted it to look a little more thrown together than past Batsuits. Right,
because I mean, this Bruce Wayne, like, he's not, I hate to like compare the universes, but he's not like a Tony Stark, you know?
No.
Iron Man suits aren't a real thing, and in this universe, this is a little bit more of a real take on the Batsuit, you know?
Yeah, he's much more, I feel like, reclusive than past Batmans. So like this whole, you know, take of him like putting this together himself makes a lot more sense.
Right.
What I found really interesting was the like construction and fitting process, because at the time they were doing all the pre-production, he was filming Tenet still.
Oh.
So they really didn't have him all the time to do, you know, a lot of fittings. So Glenn Dillon told Esquire, "We had 3D scans of his head and body, so we'd print out a big body and fit the costume." They like printed out a model of Robert Pattinson to fit the Batsuit.
Where is that model, and why do I not have it? We need to find this 3D model, Elizabeth.
Isn't that insane? I'm like, look at technology being used for good.
I love that. How can I get a 3D model of my head? Can someone please answer this? Riddle me this.
I don't know, but let's figure it out. We can do this.
I know a lot of people that would like a 3D model of Robert Pattinson's head.
Yeah, you do. You do know a lot of people. That's not even figurative. You know a lot of people.
Oh, gosh.
But one great thing about having the model to do the fittings is they had a workable suit already when they finally could fit it on Robert Pattinson. Robert told Entertainment Weekly, "It felt very different immediately. It really flowed. It was so well designed, so articulated on all the joints. It was kind of shocking." So he could like really move in this suit. It wasn't like stiff. It wasn't like, you know, he couldn't do stunts. The rest of the article I was reading, he was doing somersaults in it.
Wow.
At the fitting. And he was like, that kind of backfired because then they had him do actual somersaults in the movie. They were like, well, you can do it. But they were really kind of insistent that it really actually work for fighting, because a lot of the past ones, you know, they weren't actually practical. They just looked amazing. So they were really insistent that it looked practical. And it was great. They talked a lot. it's Christian Bale has given this advice twice now, apparently, to Robert Pattinson and Ben Affleck. He told both of them, like, oh, make sure you can, like, pee in your costume. They were like, we finally made it so he could use the bathroom by himself. So I'm like, that's, like, such a weird note, but it's like, oh.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. They were very insistent that, like, it actually be something he could get realistically in and out of and be very practical.
Right. It just, I mean, even watching him move, like, you could tell that was a little bit more real. Like, they look like real movements, because a lot of the Batman from the past, they have very kind of like robotic movements. You could tell that they don't have a lot of flexibility in their arms, but not with this one. It just, you could tell like it was a lot more flexible and more realistic. And I believe it when they say he could move around and do somersaults in it. You could tell that from observing the costume. In this dark movie, you could still see the costume doing its job.
Oh my gosh, did you see that sign that one theater put up that they're like, we're not issuing refunds for the film being too dark? Yeah. The studio told us it was a dark movie. Get over it.
Come on, people. Let's get
it together.
Yeah.
But their need to like have this really be practical and realistic went so far to even the makeup he wears underneath it. Glenn Dillon, when he was talking to Esquire, he said, I did a concept of him with black eye makeup, the panda eyes. It was just about making everything real. I think in one of the previous films, they take the mask off and there's no eye makeup there. It was a great emo look for him to have.
Yeah. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start covering my eyes in black makeup every day.
We'll just get you two of those big eyeshadow palettes. You just put your fingers in, slide them over.
Yeah. Seriously, though. Like, every time he took off his mask, even with the hair, the makeup, I was like, oh,
so
man.
messy.
Robert Pattinson, come on, man. This theater, I was like, woo, is it hot in here?
I was like, I love the detail they went to, because as soon as I read that quote, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so right. Christian Bale takes his mask off. There's no makeup underneath it. And it's like, there's no way he can have like the blacked out eyes without there being any makeup underneath it.
Right.
But even down to thinking about the mask being homemade, I didn't notice this when I was watching it, but you go back and look at the pictures and it looks hand sewn together. In the interview with Esquire, Glenn Dillon talked about the mask and the Batman cowl. He said on previous cinema iterations, they bring the cowl a lot further forward. But I really didn't want to do that with Robert because he's got such a great jawline, which is much more like the comic book Batman. He's got the perfect face for it. I was looking at Venetian masks and the ones worn at parties, and I liked the idea of it being very skull-like. If you look at the neck piece, there's cervical vertebrae. I wanted to have a Grim Reaper feel.
I love that.
And it's like, that's so true. Like, it looks very fitted to him. Again, very practical. And yeah, kind of scary.
Right. I actually did notice this while I was watching the film. I was like, wow, it like just barely covers the nose, which I feel like is actually pretty different compared to past iterations. And you really did get to see like Robert's jawline coming through a little bit. So he still was like very handsome and put together, but the way it shaped him, it also looked very scary too, because you could tell this is the face of a seriously harmer, not killer.
No, his jawline in this film.
Wow.
Chef's kiss.
I mean, come on. The self-confidence issues were raging in that theater. I was sitting there with my barrel of Coke. I was like, man, I wish I was the Batman.
Spencer, you're a very handsome gentleman.
Oh, gosh.
Not quite as practical or together is messy Bruce Wayne.
What a
Never
man.
seen such a messy Bruce Wayne.
I know. It's like the emo Hot Topic version of Bruce Wayne, you know? Like, he's had it rough. He's not like some big billionaire who's going to fancy parties all the time. He's just like a sad, dark kid who wants to go home and listen to some heavy metal music and
his police scanner.
Yeah. I loved it, actually. I thought it was cool. He was giving all the fashion moments, too.
It was great. And I love it because Alfred's like, yo, you got to watch your fortune or you're going to lose it. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, you clearly don't care because you dress like a mess, except for when he goes to the funeral of Gotham's mayor. I'm like, this is clearly the only nice piece of clothes you have is that suit and jacket.
Oh my gosh, that jacket coat. Oh, it was so good. He really cleaned up real quick and he just looks so good.
He did. I also love like the reaction of all the reporters. They're like, oh, hey, it's Bruce Wayne.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were dead. Yeah, that whole funeral scene was so great, actually. There was so many costumes in that scene. It was almost, I imagine, probably very exhausting to put that shoot together.
Yeah. No, I was like, ooh, this is a lot of people.
You know, the costume I actually thought was really interesting was the one where he was out in public just walking around in the rain, like wearing essentially like a jacket, a hoodie, and like a little bandana covering his face. Like, it's just like casual Bruce Wayne trying to go out for some coffee and fight some crime, you know?
Stalk some people, real casual.
Right. So good. I liked it. They weren't afraid to make the Batman messy, you know? And that's like, to me, that is Batman. It's dark and it's messy and you can't trust anybody and it's very dark and, you know, so. He
wasn't trying to pretend to be someone he's not, which a lot of the other ones do try to do that as Bruce Wayne.
Exactly.
Somebody who was not messy. Zoë Kravitz as Selena Kyle.
Oh, man. I don't feel well.
She looked good in the Catwoman suit. Oh, my gosh.
So good. I don't even have words.
There wasn't a moment in this film that she did not look perfect.
Honestly.
The motorcycle suit, which is like basically her Catwoman suit. The like burglar mask that like low-key looks like a little like cat ears, but isn't really.
Right. I loved that. That was so cool because it is homemade because this is set in a real universe. You know, these are just like supposed to be real everyday people. There's no Thors or Tony Starks. And the fact that she like cut up this mask and it just kind of had like these two little points from the seams on them that look like low-key cat ears. Genius costuming right there. That's just, it says everything about the character with like two little pokes and a beanie.
Yeah. You know? like it's like they're noticeable, but like you could easily like glance right over them.
Right.
And then Zoë Kravitz was quoted in Entertainment Weekly talking about the suit. She said, "We designed this motorcycle suit to kind of start the foundation of what will eventually be the cat suit." So that was an interesting process of finding out, okay, how can we get hints of what will eventually be the cat suit and who she will become? But right now, trying to make it feel as practical as possible. They nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely nailed it. Just so good. I'm trying to think what she means by evolving into the cat suit, because I just felt like that motorcycle suit the entire time, like that was the cat suit.
I feel like eventually she's probably going to join up with Bruce Wayne.
Oh, so you think that
Batman.
There's more Zoë Kravitz in my future is what you're saying?
I think there is more Zoë Kravitz as Catwoman in your future, Spencer.
My ultimate celebrity crush is Zoë Kravitz, so I just don't even feel like I should be allowed to talk about this segment, honestly.
Well, the amazing looks did not stop with her motorcycle Catwoman suit.
Oh no, not the club looks.
Her club looks, I'm like, I need this in my wardrobe. I don't go clubbing really at all, but I want all of these pieces just in case I do go clubbing.
Oh gosh, right?
Her clothes on point, very like sexy club, a little on the edge, but then also I felt like very like modern in that like kind of 90s throwback way.
Right.
And then her wigs, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the wigs are perfect. It was like the ultimate pop of color. Yeah, it's just so vibrant, which was like not her. So like you could tell like she was in disguise a little bit. But like that dark red and that coral wig on her, I was like, shut up.
Oh my gosh.
This is so good.
The coral pink wig when she goes to talk to Falcone and like pretending to be just like so distraught. I was like, girl, you're like pulling out all the like I'm daddy's little girl pieces in your wardrobe.
I'm so weak. And like that one look with the red wig and the like black, like leathery latex suit she was wearing. I was like, oh gosh, like this is just so good. I can't even talk about it. It was just so good.
It was so good.
She just looks amazing. And I will say she did a great job at being Catwoman.
She did.
I mean, she's up there with Michelle Pfeiffer for me, honestly. So, actually, I mean, there's never really been a Catwoman I haven't liked either. Like, there's, even Anne Hathaway did a great Catwoman too. Yeah, so
she did. She didn't get enough time as Catwoman. I feel like she could have done a lot more. She just wasn't given that opportunity. Yeah, no, this was an amazing. I wasn't prepared for her to also be like as big a part of the movie as she was. Like, she's really involved.
Yeah, and I liked it.
Everything he does, and it's amazing.
That first time you see her where she like walks in bringing a drink to like Penguin. And like,
yeah,
and the Batman stops and looks at her, and she looks at him, and I was like, "Oh no!" Like, oh,
like, ooh, yes. And I was like, he could not have done what he did without her help.
No, she saved his life at the end.
Yes.
Oh gosh, let's take these pictures off the screen. I can't even look at her anymore.
Well, another distinguished character and gentleman. We have Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Yes, the icon, the legend. We love Andy Serkis on this podcast.
Love Andy Serkis. He's amazing.
He was born to play this role. He is the ultimate Alfred. He did great.
Yes. I'm sorry. He's one of the best actors of his generation.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Top 5.
100%. He could do no wrong.
He can't. And I loved how, like, he was equally very, like, distinguished and polished, but also very gruff as Alfred.
Right. They really got rid of, like, the butler idea of Alfred. This is, like, a businessman who's also, like, taking care of this man-child who goes out and just smashes up crime all night long. Like, Alfred's clearly tired, but he's doing this for, like, the legacy in the family. So, like, his sleeves are rolled up and they're, it's a little bit more messier. He's not, like, a put-together butler, and I love that.
It was great. It was definitely, he's more Bruce Wayne's manager and personal assistant than butler. But also, I love how they embrace the fact that, like, Alfred is his dad.
Right.
Alfred is his dad. Alfred raised him.
I know.
Like,
I wanted him to say it when he was in a hospital bed. I was like,
oh, and I hold him.
I was like, call him daddy. Do it. Like, it was like a very Yondu and, like, Peter Quill moment. I'm like, say it.
Yes, it was. That was such a heartwarming relationship.
I just want to say, did you think it was funny though when Andy Serkis's Alfred just got like blown halfway the hell across this room, and like literally his eyes barely open, and Batman's like, "Hey, like." What happened to my parents? What did you do? You're a fucking liar.
Your father legit just woke up from a coma. You don't need to be confronting him with the deep dark family secrets quite yet.
Alfred's like, hey, baby, what's going on? And the Batman's like, hey. So, I was literally laughing in the theater. I was like, dude, give him a second to wake up. Get him some water.
Another equally changed and evolved relationship was with Lieutenant James Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright.
Another perfect casting moment. Jeffrey Wright is just so good as James Gordon. So good.
He is perfect. And, I like that they just went very simple with his wardrobe. Just like, this man is an officer of the law. He investigates crimes, suit, tie, Navy jacket, let's go.
Right. He's not like so focused on what he's wearing because this man clearly never sleeps. I mean, every 5 minutes he has to turn on the bat signal because some lunatic is like unleashed on the streets. Like his tie is barely tied up. You know, he's a little bit dirty. He's just jumping crime scene to crime scene. I mean, who lives in Gotham at this point? It is just chaos on the streets. I mean, the city literally flooded, and they were like, "Oh man, get everyone to the stadium! It's flooding again." You know, like.
I also love how the city of Gotham had no emergency plan for this to happen.
Right.
I'm like, really? You didn't? Your city has like this wall to keep the water back. Like you never thought someone might, you know, like blow it up or something.
Yeah, it was a shock. But yeah, Jeffrey Wright, he's such a great actor, and he was born to play this role too. It's the casting for this film, A+, so good.
A+, and I also like how they give everyone like an actual storyline because, like, again, like with Selina, Batman couldn't have done what he did without Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like a lot of other Batmans, it's like, oh, it's all down to Batman. He's gotta figure it out. He's gotta fix it. And it's like, no, he like sought out help.
Yeah, like he's a very unpolished version of Batman. He's still figuring it out as he goes.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's only been doing this for 2 years, depending on like what was happening. So that's kind of cool to know.
Yeah, I liked it. I also loved how we were just dropped in the middle of him being Batman. No freaking training sequence. We didn't have to see his parents be shot again.
Right. We've all seen it. Nobody cares anymore. Like, I don't
we
love
don't
your
need
parents,
to know.
respect them, Batman, but I don't care about them anymore.
No, I was like, I do not need to see your parents be brutally murdered again. Thank you.
Yeah. But I do like how they do revisit it in a way that they kind of like built up a new story behind it.
Yeah.
That was
like,
a good choice.
Like, and making his mom an Arkham.
Right.
Like, making them another, like, oh, because I mean, I don't read the comic books. I just watch the movies and stuff. So I was like, oh, I love that. It's like, oh, these two prominent families.
Mm-hmm.
And he's from both of them. So, of course, he feels like he has to protect. But... you know, not everybody in this movie was an amazing good guy. We're just right off the bat introduced to some very creepy clown gang. So this made me think that, like, oh, is this like kind of a successor to the Joker movie? Because, you know, in that, like, people just started, you know, wearing clown makeup and like creating chaos on the streets. But no, it's not. There's a clown gang, apparently.
I thought of them more as skeletons, actually. That's how I took them, but they were scary.
Oh.
I was pretty nervous on that
That's
train
a good
scene.
point.
I was like, ugh, I would want to get off this train.
You know what I was prepared for, though? The one guy who has only half the makeup on. I was prepared for Batman to be like, what's your name? And for him to be like, Robin.
Seriously, though, I thought that too. I was like, oh, I literally thought the same thing, Elizabeth. You're not the only one.
Like, I kept waiting for him to show back up and be like, hey, I want to help you, Batman.
It was not until this very moment that I realized that we never returned to that story until you brought it up just now. Like I said, I just came back from the theaters, so I'm still processing this movie.
Yeah, like I was so prepared for him to be like a part of this, like not a big part, but like a small part. I was prepared for him to be Robin as soon as I saw him hesitating. But that's probably a good thing because there were so many bad guys in this film.
Right. I mean, look, DC's doing what they need to do. They need to just take it piece by piece, you know? Sometimes DC likes to shove it all into one box real quick. Like, let's build this out a little bit. We could get there.
I know, but I do kind of love how they handled it because the main mobster of this movie, not the main bad guy, but the main mobster, we have Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro. But we have him being like dapper, like a dapper old grandpa almost.
Yeah, something about these mobsters recently. I was just, we just did the Hawkeye 2 with Kingpin. Like something about like playing a mobster where you're just like come off as like almost like kind of like warm and approachable. And that's like really how they costumed Falcone. He was like, oh, like he's like this dapper gentleman you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
And like that's a part of the horror of it. You're like, oh, like I could trust this guy. And then 5 minutes later, you're listening to him strangle some girl over a phone recording, you know, like.
Yeah. Like, I love when he's in the iceberg lounge, and he's just got, like, his little, like, grandpa sweater on. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he's just playing
hello,
pool.
Mr. Falcone. Can I get you a hot tea? Like.
I want to talk about the Penguin. That dude, creepy.
Creepy. And also, I didn't know till about half an hour ago that was Colin Farrell.
I knew that.
The heck? Like, doesn't look like the man.
No, quite.
I was shocked.
Quite the transformation there. Yeah, I loved his portrayal of the Penguin. I love, again, how they made it more realistic, because the Penguin that I'm thinking of is like Danny DeVito's Penguin. That's just like actually looks like a penguin.
Yeah.
And like, we don't have people walking around that look like penguins. So this to me felt like very real, but he still have like a little bit of a sharper nose. He works at the Iceberg Lounge. He wore a lot of like blues and whites, but also blacks. So like, it's that subtle work in a costume that really brings the character to life without having to like be too like, I don't want to say on the nose, but on the nose.
Yeah. And I also love because he's like a lower level, you know, mobster guy, like way underneath Falcone. And it's like, I love that they made it like, yeah, he is not as important. Like, his suit doesn't fit him quite right. Like, it buttons like below like the waistband, which it's like, you clearly did not have this suit fitted correctly. Like, everything's just like a little off with him, not nearly as polished as Falcone, and I love that too, the two different sides of like being a mobster reflected in those two characters.
Did you hear that already Colin Farrell has been booked to be in a spin-off television show called The Penguin?
Of course he has, because that was brilliant. I didn't even know it was him. Good for you, sir.
Yeah, I love it. I'm like, okay, bring on the spin-off shows. I need it. Let's work on this universe. It's a good one. Let's really stay here for a little bit. It's good.
I'm like, let's stay here.
Would Peacemaker be in the same universe? No, probably not.
I don't think so. I'm like, I would love if they could, you know, bring in like Aquaman and, you know, Wonder Woman, because it's like, you know, Aquaman only has one film out. Wonder Woman only has two. I'm like, I feel like they could have like worked them all together eventually, but then they already have a Batman. Like, that's a whole different universe over there.
Yeah, I hope that they keep the Batman universe that we're looking at now, keep it completely separate from all of that, because that's when it breaks the realism to me.
Yeah.
Because if Wonder Woman or Aquaman was running around during this film, like, things would not have went the way they went, you know? So I think we should just keep them separate. That's its own thing.
No.
We'll hang out in this realistic, dark world of Gotham.
Yeah. Yeah. But I hope they expand it a little bit, because it was a fun ride, but super scary. This movie was scary, especially with Paul Dano as the Riddler. Horrifying.
Right. Oh, man. It was so scary, you know, like watching like these saw-like traps that he was building. I was pretty nervous every time he had a scene. I was like, oh God, like I was not ready every time.
Like his face is, or his head is it's saran wrapped, like creepy. Then he has the leather like mask with the clear glasses over top, and then just like this shapeless, like almost military wear. Oh my gosh, horrifying. Right.
And the whole time I kept thinking, I was like, if he's like this super villain, why is he wearing his glasses? Like, he must have been able to like come up with something better. But then I'm thinking, I'm like, But like, this is such a realistic universe, like we were talking about, though. Like, this guy just made this shit up at home. Like, so of course he had to like put his glasses over it because, like I said, he's not freaking Iron Man or all these other characters. He's just some guy at home who's just sick and coming up with these terrible like riddles and traps. So, like, I love that he wore his glasses over. It made so much sense.
It made so much sense. And it's like, he's literally a forensic accountant. That's why he's doing this, because he followed the money and saw that, like, oh, all of these funds are being misused. Got it.
It was so insane. At first, when this film was coming out, I was like, when I heard that was going to be the Riddler, I think back to like Jim Carrey's Riddler with like the green skin tight spandex suit, you know, with the cane and the pink hair. So when I saw Paul Dano at first, I was like, oh, that's not the Riddler. But now I'm obsessed with the idea. Like, this is... Amazing. If the Riddler was a real person, this is what he would look like, you know, he or she, I don't know. But like, you know, the Riddler, this is realistic. It's just some crazy guy at home. And it just made so much sense. And I just feel like Jacqueline Durran really killed it with this film. It's just really, really great.
She really killed it. And I loved, she's like showing her range because like so many of like the things she's worked on have been like these like really polished period pieces, like Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, Anna Karenina, Little Women, like super feminine, like super polished, very beautiful. And then I remember seeing something, people being like, you got Jacqueline Durran to do your costumes? Like,
well, I did think that when we did Spencer for our season premiere, I was like, I just couldn't see it. But yeah, she has the range. Jacqueline Durran could go to distance.
She really did. And she was like, I'm just creating another world like I did with all of these other films. Like, it's no different. And she killed it.
She really did. Did you see that little cameo at the end there, though? I think we have a Joker on the way.
I think we do too. Especially with casting Barry Keoghan. Like, you don't cast him for no reason. He's like an incredible actor. And he, like, just last year having The Green Knight and Eternals, like...
Yeah, he's having a moment right now. And it has not been confirmed that he is the Joker.
Yeah, it doesn't even say it on IMDb. It just says unseen Arkham prisoner.
Right. But, like, I saw that shadow and I saw that smile. They are setting up a Joker to come out.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good choice, I have to say. I don't know if he's someone who I would have thought of to play the Joker, but it's a good idea.
It is definitely a good idea because he's, like, actor who does Unhinged very well. Right. Like, that's what he does. That's what he does is Unhinged super, super well and like mildly creepy. So I think it's like a super excellent choice.
We started to talk about this before we started recording, but you were saying that you kind of wish that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker maybe was connected to this.
Yeah, I kind of do, especially like I was saying in the beginning when I saw those. Now that you say they look like skeletons, I can't unsee that. But like the skeleton, like clown gang, it really reminded me of the end of the Joker movie where all those people put on the clown masks and, you know, start creating anarchy. And I was like, I could totally see this being, you know, 20 years later, this is the Gotham that emerged from that moment.
Right. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. I do like the idea, but to me, that Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, it really wasn't about like the Batman universe. It's more just about this really, you know, dark, sad tale, you know, and like the abuse of, you know, political power and looking down on people and all that. So I don't know. To me, I feel like we should leave that film alone. I think that's a great standalone film.
I agree.
Because whatever's about to happen in this next, the Batman film, it's going to be like actual like crime fighting. Like that Joaquin Phoenix Joker is not about to be out in the streets, like, you know, creating mischief. He's just a guy who probably ended up in jail shortly after that to me, you know, like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was just like, oh, like I could see that.
Well, this was a fun one. A quick one, but like it was good. It really packed its punches with the costumes.
I know. And that, like, I love when we do like newer films, but I'm also like, only being able to see it in theaters, like I feel like we missed things.
Right. I know, but it was just so good. I want to see this film over and over again. Like, too bad it just came out because I need it to start streaming soon so I could watch it again.
I think next month.
Oh.
It's going to be on HBO Max.
Oh, that seems soon.
Yeah. Something, a month or two, not very long.
Oh, okay. Well, love that.
Yeah.
All right, Elizabeth, are you ready to play our favorite game?
Oh, I am. The one costume to rule them all. Spencer, what was your one costume to rule them all?
This one's hard. I want to say, God, this is hard. I want to say, I think I'm going to go with Zoë Kravitz cat burglar costume.
Yes!
Because of the beanie. Because, I mean, it was just like so subtle. Like, people who would think and see her be like, oh, that's just a girl in a motorcycle jacket. But she's Catwoman, all because of like the subtle details. And like the part where she had like, it wasn't a whip, it was like a chain or something, you know? But like, just like the subtle things that made her Catwoman carrying a freaking cat. I don't know, like all the things without like actually being like Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, I thought was just really genius.
Yeah.
I have to say though, like the Batman suit though that they created is also like, I mean, I feel like it just, those two costumes together, just, they carried the entire film.
I gotta agree. I put Zoë Kravitz Catwoman suit there as well. But you're right. It's like her Catwoman suit, his Batman suit really carried this film.
Yeah, it was so good. Oh, man. I want to go watch it again. Do you want to go to the movies?
Let's go. Let's go FaceTime it together.
Yeah, seriously. Let's be those people.
But Spencer, I think next week we need to change it up a little bit. We need to take a turn from the gritty streets of Gotham into a more refined. Next week, everybody, we are watching The Gilded Age.
There could not be a more drastic transition from the Batman to the Gilded Age.
I'm excited. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm super stoked. So everybody, hop on HBO Max, watch The Gilded Age.
I can't wait. I haven't seen it yet, but everyone, it's actually been requested multiple times by you, the listeners, to watch this show. So don't disappoint us. I'm really excited. But I hear the costumes are awesome. So
tune in next week. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. If you liked what you heard and could give us a little 5-star text review on iTunes or wherever you like to listen, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you really, really liked us, you could share us with a friend. That would be much appreciated.
Right. Even if your review is just I am vengeance, whatever you got to do, you know, that helps us. So.
That helps us get us out there, get more exposure, and helps us bring you more incredible episodes.
Right. Thank you all for listening. Can't wait to talk to you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.
Stay away from the shadows.
I am the shadows.
The Art of Costume Blogcast is hosted and produced by Elizabeth Joy Glass and Spencer Williams. Our audio engineering and editing is done by Dan White. Follow us on Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod or visit theartofcostumeblogcast.com for all blogcast updates. If you want to support the show, go to theartofcostume.com/podstore, or you can head over to patreon.com/theartofcostume for some bonus content. For more costume reviews, deep dives, and interviews, head over to theartofcostume.com, a blog dedicated to highlighting the best in costume design.
Do, do,
I
do,
am recording.
Do,
Dun,
do,
dun.
do. I love how they were able to get that song to play consistently for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's like nice. Okay, yeah, I'm ready, I guess. It feels too easy. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
I know. I guess we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we do? We figure things out eventually.
Yeah.